What if I told you, the man who nearly destroyed the world started as a failed artist, rejected by universities, and living in poverty? This is the story of Adolf Hitler, the man whose rise to power shocked the world, and whose downfall still haunts history. Hitler was born in Austria in 1889. As a child, he dreamed of becoming a great artist, but fate had different plans. Twice rejected by the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna, he found himself drifting, jobless, homeless, and filled with anger. When World War I erupted, Hitler saw his chance. He enlisted in the German army, serving as a messenger. For him, the war was not horror, it was purpose. But when Germany lost, Hitler's world shattered. He felt betrayed, and this wound would never heal. Germany's defeat left millions humiliated. The Treaty of Versailles forced crushing debt on the nation. Hitler blamed one group, the Jews. His hatred began to fester, turning into a dangerous obsession. In the 1920s, Hitler found his voice. He joined the German Workers' Party, soon transforming it into the Nazi Party. His speeches were fiery, filled with rage and promises of revenge. Crowds grew, and with every word, his power expanded. In 1923, Hitler attempted to seize power in Munich, known as the Beer Hall Putsch. It failed. He was arrested, and many thought his career was over. But prison gave him time to write his book, Mein Kampf, where his twisted vision for Germany was born. The Great Depression hit. Millions were unemployed. People were desperate. Hitler promised jobs, pride, and revenge. By 1933, he became Chancellor of Germany. Soon, democracy collapsed, and dictatorship rose. Hitler wasn't just a politician, he became a symbol. Posters, rallies, films, the Nazi machine made him look like a god. Millions worshipped him. But behind the charisma was something much darker. 1939, Hitler invaded Poland. World War II had begun. Blitzkrieg, lightning war, crushed nations in days. Hitler's armies swept across Europe, unstoppable. For a moment, it looked like he might actually win. But Hitler's most horrifying crime was not just war. It was genocide. 6 million Jews, millions of others, exterminated in concentration camps. The world had never seen such evil on such a scale. Hitler's rise was not just through violence or intimidation, it was through words, images, and fear. His speeches were electrifying, crafted to make ordinary people believe he was their savior. The Nazi propaganda machine, led by Joseph Goebbels, turned radio, newspapers, and posters into weapons of influence. They spread fear, hatred, and the idea of racial superiority, brainwashing millions into blind loyalty. Hitler was more than a political leader, he became a myth. To his followers, he was the embodiment of strength, order, and destiny. His image was carefully controlled, always confident, always commanding, never weak. People hung his portraits in their homes, children sang songs in his honor, and even churches echoed his name. The Führer cult transformed him from a man into a symbol. On September 1, 1939, Hitler invaded Poland, unleashing the deadliest conflict in human history, World War II. His vision of dominance was now global. Countries fell one by one under Nazi control, as Europe trembled before Germany's unstoppable war machine. But with every victory, Hitler grew more ruthless, more arrogant, and more feared. But behind the battlefield, a horror beyond imagination was unfolding. Hitler's twisted ideology led to the Holocaust, the systematic murder of 6 million Jews, along with millions of others deemed unworthy of life. Concentration camps became factories of death. This was not war, it was genocide. Hitler was not just feared in Germany, he was feared across the entire globe. Leaders of powerful nations spoke his name with dread. His enemies knew he would stop at nothing to achieve domination. His allies feared his wrath, and his own generals were too terrified to question his reckless decisions. By 1943, the tide of war had shifted. The Allies began pushing back. Hitler's arrogance blinded him. He refused to retreat, refused to admit mistakes, and sacrificed millions of German lives. Once seen as a genius, he now looked desperate, unstable, and isolated. By 1945, Berlin was burning. The once mighty empire Hitler promised had crumbled into ash. The world that once trembled at his name now hunted him like a criminal. His most loyal followers deserted him, and his dream of a 1,000-year Reich ended in less than 12. In his underground bunker, Hitler faced the end. Surrounded by fear, paranoia, and betrayal, he realized the world he built was collapsing. On April 30, 1945, Adolf Hitler took his own life. The man who once held the world in terror, died in silence and defeat. Even in death, Hitler's shadow lingered. His reign left scars that still shape the modern world. He was not just feared for his power, he was feared for what he represented, the terrifying potential of hate, lies, and blind obedience. Hitler's name remains one of the most feared in history. His story is a warning, a reminder of how one man's obsession for power and control can drag the entire world into darkness. History remembers him not as a hero, but as a monster created by fear itself. The story of Hitler is just insane and amazing forever, no matter how much time passed. Now tell us about your opinion, how it touches you. Did it mark your minds and hearts or not? We definitely value your opinions, and also do not forget to like the video, subscribe the channel and share the video.